Good day to one and all. This is Dr. Sivaraman of iknowindices.com. We are on 28th of April, the last trading day of the month. I have given on Monday during my Asian Session Live Market Analysis and the Forecast webinar, that is on 24th, the expected market moves for this particular week. This I explained that it is a month-end week. The players are known to make very volatile moves in the market. So let us see the forecast and try to understand how exactly the forecast has given the explanation with regard to the market moves. Besides, we'll do the market reading using the initial lows and the highs, what I noted down around 3:30 GMT, and try to find out what sort of move they could do today. Now, this is the forecast I gave on Monday. So, being the last week of April, 24th to 28th of April, the players are expected to make the volatile moves. And you would have noticed that they made a drastic drop and a drastic rise alternatively. And still, you come across very precarious move happening in the market. Euro, GBP are showing USD weakening move. USD yen, then Canadian dollar, Australian dollar are showing USD gaining move. USD CHF, which is making sideways move. So you find a very peculiar way of market moves. Why such moves? The players have done it. They gained the levels in the case of Euro and GBP and then made the drop and rise and things like that. And finally, they are expected to hold high and induce the short sellers to go in for short covering today. Then later on next week, from 1st to 5th of May, they are expected to make the higher level consolidation, a drop in the market in order to make extreme moves to hit the high as well as the low. That is essential in order to handle the derivative market. That is the futures and the options market and also the forward cover, etc. So they make such extreme moves during that of the monthly trend reversal time. And you would have noticed how exactly they started with that of GBP, a quick upward move and then suddenly made the drop. Then subsequently they made a very quick rise on the start of the week in the case of Euro and then started making the drop. They made a very quick rise in the case of USD yen as well and started making the slide. Then CHF, they have been holding it around a narrow range. And Canadian dollar, they made an extreme rise. And in the case of Australian dollar, a nominal drop. So that is how they made the moves differently in different pairs. As a result, what they have done, they have done the sequential trend reversal. They handle the commodity and commodity crosses to start with. Then subsequently yen and yen crosses by making a continuous rise in the case of Euro and GBP as well as USD yen. Then subsequently they started handling the European crosses by making rise in the case of GBP and drop in the case of Euro. As a result, we have found that they had done the sequential trend reversal during that of the monthly trend reversal time. In that process, they just gained the levels in the case of Euro and GBP, and they are expected to make further firming up move and build sell position. Or they may hold high, make brief upward stop and then induce the short sellers to come for short covering in the case of Euro and GBP, as well as in the case of USD CAD at the higher level. They will induce the short sellers to go in for a short covering. Then later on, from Monday onwards, they will start making the let loose condition, start making the drop in them. At that time, you'll come across Aussie to gain and USDN to drop, as they do the same sequential trend reversal during the first week of the following month also, in order to hit the higher level and lower level extreme levels of the derivative market. So during such time, we have to see that we don't do over trade and take only one position and try to close the position within the session or within the day. If we carry it, then probably we will face painful conditions. We may have to have adequate equity to protect the position so that we can continue to make profit in them during the next week when they make one-sided reversal in the market. So if you got any doubt with regard to the market and also the expected market news, you can ask me the questions here. I'll be willing to answer to those questions. Then the range in which the currencies were making the swings. In the case of euro, from that 1.0682, almost close to 1.07, they started gained up to that of 1.09. When compared to that of the previous weeks, this week they made about 250 pips. Normally they can do 350 pips in euro in a given week, but they had done about 250 pips rise in the case of euro. Then in the case of GBP, they had done less than that of 200 pips. So from that 1.277 to almost 1.28 to 1.29. So it is more or about 135 to 40 pips swing. Then in the case of yen, again they gained the level as I explained, that euro, GBP as well as USD yen, they are expected to gain the level. They came up to 111.373 from that of 109.60 on Monday. Then in the case of CHF, they came down to 99.09 level to 99.81, hardly about 75 pips swing they had done it. In the case of Canadian dollar, they just held around 1.34 area and went up to 1.3670 yesterday, and they will hold near that of the high and build a sell position. And next week we'll come across drastic drop in the case of Canadian dollar. So you know that in the case of euro and GBP, they had done the USD weakening move, but in the case of yen and Canadian dollar, USD CAD, they made the USD gaining move. So they will make similar reversal next week. Then in the case of Australian dollar, they came down to that of 0.7440 in tandem with that of the Canadian dollar rise, USD CAD rise, as the USD gaining move, but a nominal USD weakening move in the case of Australian dollar. And the high they set was only 0.7592. So hardly about 150 pips swing they have done it. So only in the case of euro, because of the election, they have made about 250 pips. Other currencies were making similar moves to that of last week and the weeks before. So invariably you come across that volume in the market is really dwindling, and in that the players are trying to hold for a prolonged period in a level and try to induce the traders to go in for a short covering or long liquidation by testing their patience. So when the volume is low, they cannot make any big volatile moves, because by making that they don't gain. Then the traders taken the positions will lose the patience and then liquidate either the higher level long or go in for a short covering with regard to the lower level short. So this is how they handle the traders, by testing their patience and earn their money. Then coming to the market reading, I noted down the initial lows and the highs around 3:30 GMT. Euro formed the low 1.0857 and 1.0876 is the high. They not breached the low or the high. Then in the case of GBP, 1.2889 is the low, 1.282914 was the initial high. They went up to 1.2916 and then come down. So they will just test the high again and again, so that the traders who have gone short might think that it will just flare up and try to go in for a short covering. If predominant of the traders have done the short covering, then they may not make any further rise in the case of GBP and start making the slide. In the case of Euro, it appears that many of the traders, because of the election news, have done the short covering and turning long. That is why they are not just gaining the level, but they will let loose Euro by towards US session, because when predominant of the traders have taken a long position in the case of Euro, then obviously they have to come down another 50 pips, induce them to go in for a long liquidation. Because of the election news, many traders have closed their sell position and turned long, it appears. Then in the case of yen, a contrarian move has happened. When Euro and GBP were gaining, USD was also gaining. And in the beginning of the week, somebody asked me what will happen to the yen crosses. I was telling them that they will make the one-sided rise during that of uh, the month and time, extreme on the upside, extreme on the downside. That's what on the upside they have done it. Next week they will do it on the lower side. Then in the case of yen also they are not breached the low or the high. Then CHF also they are not breached the low or the high. Then Canadian dollar they are not breached the low or the high. Then Australian dollar also they are not breached the low or the high, excepting 2 pips upward stop in the case of Euro. They are not done any of the breaching, indicating that they want the traders to be squeezed towards the weakened close. In the recommended trade, so when Euro makes a downward breakout, you can take a buy, or an upward breakout, we can take a sell, so that we'll be able to make definite profit. Because as the day proceeds, during the European or the US session, they will squeeze the traders on either side to go in for the short covering and long liquidation. At that time, when they make an upward squeeze, we should sell, so that they will, once the short covering is over, then they will start let losing it, because they will not be able to take delivery of those positions. They have to liquidate it in the market, and when they do that, market automatically will come down. At that time, you can buy back against the sell. Similarly, in the case of GBP also, when they make a downward breakout or the upward breakout, we can take the positions and try to book profit. This you can try it in a demo trading platform. This is the market timing chart indicating how exactly you find the 3 sessions of the day in a 24 hours market. And each session is subdivided into early, mid, and the late sessions. How exactly those timings are being followed by the other players. So we should also follow the same timing in order to understand what is going to be the move for the next 30 minutes, so that we'll be able to make a decisive trade. So if you got any doubt, you can ask me in the question answer window. I'll be willing to answer those questions. Let me show the forecast sheet. Okay, no more question coming forward. So let me wind up the webinar. So I take this opportunity to thank FX Trade for the facilities provided to present the webinar, and try to follow the forecast and develop an insight and try to trade carefully using the hedge order to limit the risk and maximize the profit. So they are expected to make the volatile move again next week, opposite to that of what the move they had done it this week. And after that of non-farm payroll, they are expected to reverse and continue to gain the levels in the case of Euro and GBP as well as USDC, USD So understand that the players are capable of making varied moves, and they handle in a sequential way the commodity pairs and the commodity crosses, then yen and yen crosses, then the majors, and finally the European crosses. So similar moves will be seen next week. So keep that in mind as a larger uh, perspective of the market. Then go to that of the specific currency, but always related to that of the other currencies by using the live market code page, so that you'll be able to really understand how they bring in the varied move. So don't develop any bullish or bearish feel that may inhibit you taking the right positions. So wish you all the best in your trades and weekend. See you on Monday. I'll come out with that of the forecast for the next week. Wish you all the best.